Hey guys, it's Justine here from I Should Read That, and today we're going to talk about my current and recent reads. You can probably tell that I am exhausted right now. I usually try to put myself together a little bit more for these videos, but we have been so incredibly busy, not just with moving stuff, but just running around. We've got Yelk coming up this weekend, which I'm very excited about, and yeah, just life. I do want to take this opportunity to show off my shirt. So we went to a independent pro wrestling event on Friday, and it was all women. It's a promotion called Eve. It's fantastic, really, really incredible. But Scottish husband and I each got a shirt. This is Pile Drive a Fascist, and this is just marvelous. We've both been wearing our shirts for the past few days. But despite being completely exhausted, I have actually been reading a lot. You might be able to see that this shelf, which is my things that I'm keeping out of boxes because, we don't know when we're going to move, but we're going to move sometime this month. This has been going down a fair bit, although there are some things that got added because there's a double point sale, but we won't talk about that. And I do have, of course, my little shelf of books that I've read this month is growing, so that's very exciting. Speaking of which, I read two fantastic new releases that I wanted to talk to you guys about. I want to do full reviews for these. I'm going to do them when I'm a little bit less tired, but I did want to talk to you guys about them because they're both just came out at the end of October, I think, and they're just fantastic. So the first one is House of Splinters by Laura Purcell. So this is a historical set gothic novel, and that's kind of her specialty at this point. She's a really wonderful author. She's one of my favorite authors, an auto-author for sure. And this is her latest book, and it is technically a prequel to kind of her biggest book, which was The Silent Companions, which I read back in 2017. I specifically remember reading that in 2017 because I was at my parents' house in London, where they lived at the time, and it was one of the days of Yelk. It was my first Yelk ever. I had just started talking about books on the internet, and I was reading The Silent Companions, and that house happened to be a bit creaky, which if you've read The Silent Companions, is not a good sign. So it really freaked me out. It was fun. It was a great reading experience, but yeah, I'm a huge wimp. You don't have to have read The Silent Companions in order to read this and really enjoy it, because I believe, with the exception of the setting, the house that this takes place in, and the Silent Companions, which look like this, they're a very real thing. I'll put a picture up here somewhere. They're basically ye olde cardboard cutouts. Who thought this was a good idea? I don't know. Apparently Laura Purcell didn't think it was a good idea and decided to use them as sort of the antagonist in her books. But besides those two connections, I don't believe any of the characters cross over, so you're not going to be missing out on anything if you read this first, but would recommend Silent Companions because it's a great book. I was really enjoying the beginning, and then towards the middle, kind of end of the middle, I was like, I'm not entirely sure if I or know what direction she's going in with this. It doesn't feel right. And then she turned it around, and it was great. It was so good. I loved the ending of this book. I love the last 25% of this book was really fantastic. So I would definitely recommend this if you're a horror reader. And then last night was so embarrassing. I finished The Everlasting by Alex E. Harrow. Now, she's one of my favorite authors. Any new book by her is going to be a really, really exciting release. However, if you read her Kindle single, which really popped off maybe a couple of years ago, it's called The Six Deaths of a Saint. Highly recommended. The cover is here. It's beautiful. It's a fantastic, one of the best short stories I've ever read in my entire life. She basically took this and expanded it into this, and it's incredible. And I cried so hard. Genuinely, Scottish husband had to hold me for 10 minutes while I blubbered, and then I had to knock down a glass of water and rehydrate because I cried so hard. It was so good. It's such a fantastic book. She's one of the best fantasy writers out there. Her writing is beautiful. Her characters are amazing. And if you like T. Kingfisher, I would really recommend, especially this book and her previous book, which is called Starling House. They're just great. And I'm not quite ready to talk about this yet, hence me putting off doing a review, but it's so good. If you're on the fence about this, then definitely pick it up. So those two books I recently finished. I am in the middle of two, which I have talked about before. They're nonfiction books, so they're taking a little bit longer, but I have decided to start two new fiction books as well. So my main book that I'm reading right now is Black and British, A Forgotten History by David Alishoga. This is a fantastic book. I cannot recommend it more highly. It's really just incredible. I have been knitting up a storm. I am currently doing Socktember, instead of Socktober, which is a thing, people knit socks in October. I'm almost done with this pair, and then let me show you my Christmas socks. I'm also working on my Christmas socks. Aren't these hilarious? I'm completely obsessed with them. But doing this means that I get to listen to a lot of audiobooks, and Black and British has been really, really fantastic because it's just so incredibly fascinating. As I'm sure you can imagine by the title, this is a history of Black people in Britain, and the ways that they are kind of eliminated from mainstream history. There's this weird idea in this country that Black people didn't come here until like the Windrush generation, which is so silly. Like, sea travel has existed for a really long time, you guys. Every time that I like finish up a knitting and listening session, I like pull my headphones off my head and I like turn to Scottish husband and then I just word vomit at him like all of these facts I'm getting from this book. One of the things that I'm really enjoying about it is how he is connecting Black British history to global history and the ways that what's happened in other countries, especially the US, of course, with American slavery, but sort of how it connects to other places in Europe and across the planet, and it's just really, really great. I again cannot recommend this more highly. The other nonfiction book that I am reading right now is The Road to Jonestown, Jim Jones and the People's Temple by Jeff Gwynne. I am very slowly making my way through this. I think I'm on page 165 at the moment, and it's fantastic. It's really, really good, but it is a little bit slower. Weirdly, this is like my tub time reading when I get in the bath. At the end of the day, apparently all I want to do is unwind and read about horrible crimes. It's very, very good. I would really like to read his book on Manson. One of my friends, I was telling her that I read this. She has read this, and she also read his Manson book, and apparently it's fantastic. So Jeff Gwynne might be someone who I turn back to again, but this is great so far. It's just, you know, it's not cheerful. And for the fiction books that I am reading, I did start last night The Devouring Light by Kat Ellis. This is a YA horror book, and I read and absolutely adored Harrow Lake, which I think came out pre-pandemic, and I still have the proof for it. It's super cool. It's like a VHS slipcase. It's very, very cool. That's the only book of hers that I've read, and I have been very much looking forward to this. I've read the first 10%. I'm not 100% sure if I'm sold on it yet. I think that at the tender age of 37, I do sometimes struggle to relate to like teen characters and protagonists. Of course, I'm like 20 years removed from a lot of these thoughts and actions. That's totally fine. It's not a fault of the characters or the writers. It's a fault of very much adult me with my mortgage and you know, career and everything, just being like, why are you so upset about this? But I am going to definitely give this a good try. It looks really, really spooky. It's a haunted house book. I don't really know much about it yet. A lot of the stuff that it says on the back hasn't actually happened yet, so it's still very fresh, very new. I'm reading this on my Kobo because I have a NetGalley copy, but I did pick up a copy in the double point sale. And much to the delight of a lot of my friends, I have finally decided to pick up Not Quite Dead Yet by Holly Jackson. She, of course, is the author of The Good Girl's Guide to Murder and that trilogy of books. I have read the first one. It's on my list of series that I need to finish. I'm probably going to actually go back and reread the first one. But this is a standalone, and it's an adult book, and it looks really, really fun. And also because it's a Waterstones edition, it's got these lovely sprayed edges, which is just a hoot. I love this. So this book is about a woman named Jet. She is 27 years old. She's never left her hometown of Vermont. She's always saying, you know, she'll have time, she'll do it later. She never gets around to it. However, on the night of Halloween, she's violently attacked by an unseen intruder, and she suffers a like catastrophic brain injury, and she's basically going to die of an aneurysm in 7 days, and she wants to solve her own murder. This sounds really good. I'm really looking forward to this. I actually don't think I've heard much about this. Given the number of Holly Jackson fans that I am friends with and that I follow, I don't think I've heard a huge amount about this book. I don't know if it's been really well received or not, but it sounds like a hoot. It sounds really fun. I'm looking forward to starting this. I think this is going to be my bedtime book tonight, because I like having a good chunky hardcover to like, you know, lay on top of a cat and read. So yeah. And then after that, depending on how much time we have left in this flat, I've got all of these. So I'll show off what I've got on my shelf that I've held back. So some of these books are new editions, because again, that double point sale, it gets me every time. But some of these are ones that I've been wanting to read for a little while. So recent additions to the shelf include Seiichi Matsumoto's A Quiet Place, and also Inspector Imanishi Investigates. I read Tokyo Express a couple months ago, and I really, really enjoyed it, which is also by him. And yeah, I love a Japanese crime novel. Apparently it's a thing that I really enjoy, so I'm looking forward to these a lot. Also, winter is such a good time for murder books. I don't know what it is, but like winter is the perfect time for crime. Another new acquisition is The Witching Hour, and this is a collection of spooky ghost stories by British authors. So I think it's The Haunting Season was the first one, and then there's another one. Is it Winter Spirits, I think, that came out last year or the year before. So this is the third in this kind of like series of collections of short stories, and I think a lot of those authors are repeated. There's some people in here that I don't love. There's a couple of very turfy authors in here. Unfortunately, it is a bit of a British author problem, but there are some people that I really like. So like Michelle Paver, I'm a huge fan of. I really love Katrina Ward is one of my favorite authors. Stuart Turton is a great author. So I'm really looking forward to this. Again, Waterstone's edition. Also, winter, great time for ghost stories. Just the best, especially at Christmas time. And then the last of the new editions is The Firstborn of the Sun by Marvelous Michael Anson. This is one I've been looking forward to for a really long time. Do you guys remember a couple of years ago, there was this huge fight that was going on Twitter because one author found out that another author had a book where her character had like sun-related powers, and the initial author got angry because she like copyrighted the sun. It was a whole thing. This is the author who was getting a lot of flack from that first author. She is not the one who tried to copyright the sun. She is the one who got yelled at because apparently the other one did that. So I've been really looking forward to reading this to see what all the fuss is about. I've heard it's fantastic. I've heard it's really, really good. And I feel like I'm starting to get some of my fantasy brain back. I've been reading a lot of crime and a lot of horror books. So this looks absolutely fabulous. I'm really looking forward to this. Books that have been sitting on that shelf for a little bit longer are We Love You, Bunny by Mona Awad. So I read Bunny a couple of years ago and I absolutely loved it. It's a love it or hate it kind of book. It's a super, super bizarre, weird, trippy, surreal fever dream of a book. This is a sequel I didn't know we needed, but I went and saw her give a talk in London, and now I'm 100% on board. So I'm really looking forward to this. I think it's going to be great. The inside of this calls it Frankenstein Meets Heathers, and I feel like that is very accurate. I also have Itch by Gemma Amor. This is a book I've been looking forward to for a really long time, and I'm not gonna lie, a lot of the reason is because a horror book with a pink cover is always gonna like catch me in its snare. I fucking love a pink horror book. This cover reminds me a little bit of Bunny because it's also got that hot pink cover. The prequel to this book. And yeah, ants crawling under your skin, feminist horror, rage. It looks great. I don't know a huge amount about it other than that, but I follow her on social media and she seems really cool. So that's reason enough, along with pink cover, for me to pick it up. And then I have a couple of review copies. The first is How to Build a Haunted House, The History of Cultural Obsession by Caitlin Blackwell-Baines. This is a nonfiction book about haunted houses and why we are so obsessed with them. And as someone who is completely and utterly obsessed with haunted houses, this sounds great. This is like my exact cup of tea. So each chapter is broken down into like a different supposed haunting. So like Strawberry Hill House, Gillingham Castle, Borley Rectory, and why we are obsessed with the concept of haunted houses. So this is fabulous. Again, another really great winter book. And then last but not least, I have Bill Wood's Be Right Back. This is the sequel to Let's Split Up, which is really fun kind of YA horror thriller. It's very Scooby-Doo inspired. He is a lovely person. I really thoroughly enjoyed the first book and I would really like to kind of devour this. This feels like a read it in a weekend, maybe even read it in a day kind of book. So I've been saving this for when stress is really high. So I'm probably gonna read it this week. So yeah, those are the books that I have recently read, the books that I am currently reading, and what I am planning on reading here in the future. Things are stressful, so you can expect a lot of reading to happen. I would love to hear in the comments below what you're reading right now, and especially if you have read any of these books, please tell me your thoughts. I'm gonna put this down because my arm is gonna fall off, but that's it for now, and I will see you next time.